Thomas Merton from the Seven-Story Mountain wrote, and I quote, "The logic of worldly success rests on a fallacy that our perfection depends on the thoughts and opinions and applause of others. A weird life it is to be living always in somebody else's imagination, as if that were the only place in which one could become real." Hello once again, I'm Don Jackson. Benjamin Franklin believed to be content, look backward on those who possess less than yourself, not forward on those who possess more. If this does not make you content, you don't deserve to be happy. These are the possessions that mean the most to us, and also those who can certainly look a gift horse in the mouth with the heartbeat of the internet. The downside of having possessions in those two songs. I'm Don Jackson with the heartbeat of the internet. It's not true that we can never really return home. After leaving home and carrying on with our own life journey, we have made many changes, but we can return for a visit and experience some of that which shaped us. William Houseman in House Beautiful wrote, "By its nature, of course, holiday homecoming is not calculated to inspire unbridled emotional highs. Going home derives from rediscovering the joys of familiarity. There is the old reassuring bed, therapeutically obsolete though it be. It's your bed. The tick of the clock, the slam of the door, the creak of the steps. They too may be among your personally prized associations. Even the sun rising may be a personal possession. If the sunlight enters a certain window, you remember it entering, then that is where it is supposed to enter. By clear inference, the sun therefore rises where it's supposed to, and for the best of all reasons, you're at home." David Conover in Once Upon a Dream wrote, "Within every man there lies a dream. It is to his mind what his heart is to his body. He not only believes in it, but lives because of it. He nourishes it with thought, unaware it is his most valuable possession. It sustains him in times of crisis. It comforts his fears and silently molds his future. Wherever he goes and whatever he does, it remains part and parcel of his being. And when his dream is fulfilled, he quickly plants another. For without a dream, a man may still exist, but he ceases to live." End quote. While his dream may be his most valuable possession, but I think there is something even more of value. George Matthew Adams said, "If you have but a solitary friend who is tried and true, you are among the rich in mind and heart. You then have an investment that never loses its value. You will grow richer each day of your life. Once you have that kind of friendship, do not expect too much of it. Measure it out. Give it all the loyalty that is yours. And what a possession you will then have." It was the late comedian George Carlin who so astutely observed, "We have multiplied our possessions, but reduced our values." This is one of my favorite stories. It's called Perspectives. One day, a father and his rich family took his young son on a trip to the country with the firm purpose to show him how poor people can be. They spent a day and a night in the farm of a very poor family. When they got back from their trip, the father asked his son, "How was the trip?" "Very good, Dad." "Well, "Did you see how poor people can be?" the father asked. "Yeah." "And what did you learn?" The son answered, "I saw that we have a dog at home, and they have 4. We have a pool that reaches to the middle of the garden. They have a creek that has no end. We have imported lamps in the garden. They have the stars. Our patio reaches to the front yard. They have a whole horizon." When the little boy was finishing, his father was speechless. His son added, "Thanks, Dad, for showing me how poor we are." Isn't it true that it all depends on the way you look at things? If you have love, friends, family, health, good humor, and a positive attitude toward life, you've got everything. You can't buy any of these things. You can have all the material possessions you can imagine, provisions for the future, etc. But if you are poor of spirit, you have nothing. At both my daughter's and son's graduation ceremonies, as well as their individual proms, I took a long look at all the assembled students milling about before the ceremonies were to begin. I remember hearing about those who were gifted with brand new cars or other expensive gifts for this milestone. This is called the Father's Gift. And I quote, "A young man was getting ready to graduate from college. For many months, he had admired a beautiful sports car in a dealer's showroom, and knowing his father could well afford it, he told him that was all he wanted. As graduation day approached, the young man awaited signs that his father had purchased the car. Finally, on the morning of graduation, his father called him into his private study. His father told him how proud he was to have such a fine son, and told him how much he loved him. He handed his son a beautifully wrapped gift box. Curious and somewhat disappointed, the young man opened the box and found a lovely leather-bound Bible with the young man's name embossed in gold. Angry, he rose his voice to his father and said, "With all your money, you give me a Bible?" and stormed out of the house. Many years passed, and the young man was very successful in business. He had a beautiful home and wonderful family, but he realized his father was very old and thought perhaps he should go to him. He had not seen him since that graduation day. Before he could make arrangements, he received a telegram telling him his father had passed away and willed all of his possessions to his son. He needed to come home immediately and take care of things. When he arrived at his father's house, sudden sadness and regret filled his heart. He began to search through his father's important papers and saw the still gift-wrapped Bible, just as he had left it years ago. With tears, he opened the Bible and began to turn the pages. A car key dropped from the back of the Bible. It had a tag with the dealer's name, the same dealer who had the sports car he had desired. On the tag was the date of his graduation and the words, "Paid in full," end quote. Someone once said that those who are successful in life are the ones who end up with all the toys, all the material possessions they desired. Really? I'll bet those people expect all those toys to be left behind to loved ones, like children, when they depart this world. The kids will probably appreciate all the junk, considering the values they were brought up with. Merle Shane recounted a beautiful legend in her bestseller, Hearts That We Broke Long Ago, and I quote, "Once when Care was crossing a river, an ancient fable of Hyginus tells us, she saw some clay and she thoughtfully took up a piece and began to shape it. While she was meditating on what she had made, Jupiter came by Care asked him to give it spirit, and this he gladly granted. But when she wanted her name to be bestowed upon it, he forbade this and demanded that it be given his name instead. While Care and Jupiter were disputing, Earth arose and desired that her own name be conferred on the creature, since she had fit with part of her body. They asked Saturn to be their arbiter, and he made the following decision, which seemed a just one. Since you, Jupiter, have given it spirit, you shall receive the spirit at its death. And since you, Earth, have given its body, you shall receive its body. But since Care first shaped this creature, she shall possess it as long as it lives. This has all appeared to be about the material world, but as you can see now, it had more to do with the immaterial. This is a very powerful writing. This is called God Won't Ask You. God won't ask you what kind of car you drove, but will ask you how many people you drove who didn't have transportation. God won't ask you what your highest salary was, but will ask you if you compromised your character or morals to obtain that salary. God won't ask you the square footage of your house, but will ask how many people you welcomed into your home. God won't ask about the fancy clothes you had in your closet, but will ask how many of those clothes helped the needy. God won't ask how many material possessions you had, but will ask if they dictated your life. God won't ask how much overtime you worked, but will ask if you worked overtime for your family and loved ones. God won't ask how many promotions you received, but will ask how you promoted others. God won't ask what your job title was, but will ask if you performed your job to the best of your ability. God won't ask what you did to help yourself, but will ask what you did to help others. God won't ask how many friends you had, but will ask how many people to whom you were a true friend. God won't ask what you did to protect your rights, but will ask what you did to protect the rights of others. God won't ask in what neighborhood you lived, but will ask you how you treated your neighbors. God won't ask about the color of your skin, but will ask about the content of your character. God won't ask how many times your deeds matched your words, but will ask how many times they didn't. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.